It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
Look, man, I still feel like I'm 25 years old.
I don't doubt it. I've watched you play drums.
I don't feel like I'm 21. I was just too stupid. 25, I started to figure it out, so I'm going to go right back to 25.
Okay.
And I think about things that change over time and what are the signs, the telltale signs you're just turning into an old fart. And I'm here to tell you, I'm not going that way, man.
Okay, good.
I mean, I get up early, but that's because I have to. I'm not happy. I don't jump out of bed at 4 a.m. like, oh, this is going to be an amazing day. This is going to be great. No, screw that. I'd much rather be up till 2 a.m. every day.
Really? No, for me. Like, I enjoy, even when I didn't have to get up at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, very much enjoy being in bed by 8:30. Sometimes in the dead of winter, I'm really excited to get in bed at like 6 o'clock. It drives my husband nuts.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, I've never been that guy in my life. That is I mean, I started waking up earlier as like especially like 2020, 21 time sort of lost sense. The world was really weird, and I was finding myself popping awake at 5:30 or 6:30. But then I would go back to sleep. It's like I had to be awake for sunrise, and then I could go back to sleep. I'd pop up, and it would still be dark, and I just realized after a few weeks of this, like, oh, well, I'm just up. So I'd get up, I'd read or do whatever, put on a show, and then once the sun was coming up, I could then relax and go back to sleep. It's like I had to make sure. It's like I had to make sure the day was actually still coming because a lot of things we took for granted went away, and all of a sudden I was like just double checking. You know what I mean?
Yeah, fair enough.
But that's all. In fact, and it was in the middle of that era when I was still trying to make sense of it when I got a call. Hey, do you want to do morning radio? And I was like, well, hell, I'm already up at 5 anyway. What I didn't realize was that I wouldn't go back to sleep at 8. So I'm still, it's like one of those, oh, come on, man. The only thing I do that old people do is I do use closed captioning on everything I watch. However, but that's because I beat drums for a living and sat on a stage with giant Marshall stacks, and I blew out my hearing before I was 30.
Yeah.
That's not because I'm old. That's because I'm deaf. There's a damn difference.
I do it because I'm old. What if you're eating something with chips?
You're not old.
It was just the 21st anniversary of my 21st birthday on Saturday. So I've decided 2025 is the year that I embrace being old. And I haven't said this before because I was afraid somebody was going to hold me to it. But my 2 2025 resolutions are...
Oh, my God, I'm afraid.
Get to the driving range 10 times.
Oh, I like that. That works.
And learn how to play cribbage.
I don't even
know.
Do you
even know what cribbage is?
It's one of those words I see, and I'm like, oh, sure. I don't know. I think it's like a combination of bridge and parcheesi or some crap like that. I smell cabbage when I hear cribbage.
It's you smell cabbage. It's something that everybody does at the dive bar if you can get there at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's the wooden boards with the tiny little pegs, and then they've got a bunch of cards and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So to become a master cribbage player this year is my goal.
Wow, cribbage. Okay, I can see it. I can see it. There is one other thing I
got to go there and do something besides the game of drink.
But see, you're at a day. But at the dive bar. See, I don't think going to the dive bar at 3 in the afternoon or 2:30 means you're getting old. I think it means you're just being efficient. You know what I mean? The only thing I have changed, the one thing I will give to age is I do eat earlier. I did have that thing, and by the way, this isn't because I'm getting older. This is a Gorman thing.
Okay.
Heartburn, GERD, all that stuff, digestive, whatever. I have 5 older brothers who, for my entire life, I have 2 older sisters, but I don't look at them as blueprints because they have very different physiologies, I've learned. Mm-hmm. My brothers, every one of us, at the same age, the eyesight starts to go, the hair starts to gray. Like, I can look ahead and know exactly what's coming because we've all receded and I have held out way longer than the rest, though. Stuff that they're all going through, I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm still rocking and rolling. This is great. The only thing is the digestion, the heartburn. I have to eat earlier. I will make. I did have to make an allowance, and this is probably 5 or 6 years ago. Like, man, I spent decades eating at midnight.
What do you consider eating early?
Like, I got to be done eating by 7.
Really?
What is that? What?
Well, there are occasions, and part of it's the gig, but there are occasions when I have absolutely positively had dinner at 4:30, maybe 4.
Oh my God, that's not dinner. That's a snack.
No. No, I cook a full-on meal and and eat it while watching Jeopardy.
All right, so as long as I'm younger than Ryder, I'm still in good shape. I mean, our birth certificates might argue, but clearly you're the old lady around here now.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm
right.
embracing that crap.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
A viral video is up. Well, there are several. A new video has gone viral. A mom in Jacksonville posted it. She came home from Walmart with a big old bag of chicken nuggets, frozen chicken nuggets. Their brand is called Great Value. She bought the Great Value chicken nuggets. Noticed that they seemed a little light. And that's because she cooked a few of them. And then took into a bite, and what was inside that wonderful breaded outside layer of the breading was air.
What?
Empty nuggets. Or I should say empty breading around nuggets. They look just like chicken nuggets, but without the chicken. So I don't know
how did those even get crafted?
Thank you. That's my question. What is the process wherein you deep fry air? It's weird.
I don't know what it is, but we're going to see it at the state fair next year. Deep fried air on a stick is coming.
In the video, she slices into several nuggets, and it's literally just the breading, completely hollow, nugget-shaped breading.
All right.
But, the things you could use those for, though, just fill them up with put a little, pimento cheese in there, a little blue cheese, a little jalapeno garnish, whatever. That's kind of nice.
Listen, I guess I understand why she's given Walmart crap, but here's the deal. I remember on a special night, we would get Kentucky Fried Chicken for dinner, and the instruction for Mom would be, you guys can't just eat the skins. And this is basically what's happening here. Is the breading's the best part anyway, isn't it?
It's very true.
So
the last time I had KFC, and I will admit it's been a while, the meat was the least of my concerns. It was just
right?
like, oh yeah. And I don't even never even needed the extra crunchy. Just the good old classic was always exactly what I was looking for.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
Promoter says, so what do you guys want in the dressing room? And you're like, ooh, what do we want in the dressing we could just get stuff. You'll just bring us stuff, and you get that first tour rider. And when it starts off, it's a 6-pack of beer and towels. That's all, because you're going to be sweaty afterwards. Give me some beer and towels and a bag of chips. And then, second or third tour, it's like, I think we need a case of beer. I think we need to make sure the towels have already been washed, because they just go buy them fresh, and then you wipe your face and you got the little fuzzies all over.
Yeah.
And then by your third or fourth tier, you're like, how about a loaf of bread and some lunch meat? It'd be good to have food. And then it just grows and grows and grows. And then before you know it, you're sitting in a room that's just loaded. You could feed, a small town with the crap in your dressing room every day.
I think part of it, people hear about this and think, God, rock stars have such a big head. But your day's really full, right? When you're touring at that, because you got to talk to your radio people and do this sound check and blah, blah, blah. You don't have time to go be running errands. So.
No, you're not really running a lot of errands. And then if you're stupid like we were, you make sure that after every show you invite as many people backstage as you can, and then every single gig night is like, this is great, us and 50 people are hanging out drinking all that booze, and then one day you wake up and go, I think I'm just gonna go to bed, I'm tired. And then hopefully it's you're not 50 before you get the wake-up call.
So what was the one smart-ass thing you put on the tour rider? Because I know everybody's got their beer and their food and stuff.
We had, so our manager, Pete Angelus, came to the Black Crowes from the Van Halen world. He was with them from day one. Mm-hmm. And Pete, very famously, everyone knows the Van Halen M&M story.
Yes.
It was they wanted M&Ms in the dressing room, and they had to have the brown M&Ms removed. It was brown, because there's more brown than anything else.
Okay.
And so in the midst of all their production, this is what we need. You have a long list of, there's stuff for the
lighting
stage.
And sound.
Everything. You have all of this stuff, and then you have the dressing room requirements. Pete had the idea to put in there, we want a 1-pound bag of M&Ms, or a bowl of M&Ms, no brown M&Ms.
Okay.
That was it. And it also said, if we find one brown M&M, the band can destroy the dressing room and trash it, and it's on the promoter to pay for the repairs.
I like that clause.
There was the back end of it, which is, we can destroy this place and you won't charge us for it. The reason that was in there, it makes a funny story. What's wrong with brown M&Ms? But the whole point was, if we get there and don't see any brown M&Ms, then we know someone paid attention and read everything on the rider.
I had heard that rumor and wonder if they
yep,
were actually that smart.
That's exactly what it was. Well, Pete was that smart.
Okay.
Now Diamond Dave loves to take credit for it, but that was Pete's thing. And so they knew, well, if we go in there and there's brown M&Ms, what else didn't they do? It was that. So with us, on our second album, 1992, a tour that opened at the Orpheum here in Minneapolis a few nights.
Oh, no crap.
We had on our rider an ounce of marijuana.
Okay.
A full ounce of weed.
Yeah.
And this is in 1992 when it wasn't that easy to get. It certainly wasn't legal to get. And so we didn't put that in there to make sure they were paying attention. We put that in there because we just wanted to get stoned. And it was also, let's see if anybody actually does this. And it would be funny to watch the promoter rep, like the runner, come in and be like, hey, guys, listen, guys, I mean, the ounce of weed, I mean, I just can't, I couldn't. And you'd be like, that's cool. But then every now and again, there'd be someone who goes, hey, man, here you go. Gotcha. And you'd be like, that person's on their way in the music business.
Yes. Did you always get good stuff, or sometimes did you end up with ditch weed?
No, both. You'd get stuff. You'd be like, oh my God, is this from Humboldt County? And then the next day it'd just be like dirt, skunk, nasty ass Nebraska pot. You're like, hey, whatever. At least they tried. That's the key. That's really the key. So that's as far out there as we ever actually got. But that's because we were not the craziest people alive. There are some things on tour riders that truly have to be seen to be believed. Bands or artists hit the road. They start in clubs. You start in a van or someone's car, and before you know it, you got buses and planes, and you're a giant star, and you walk into a dressing room, and it's just full of crap.
Well, some bands.
Yeah, some bands. I'm saying if you make it, when the Beatles toured America in the mid-'60s, they were the biggest band of all time at that moment. They're still the biggest band of all time. This is what they had. 4 cots, a mirror, an ice cooler, portable TV set, and clean towels.
Wow.
That's what they were looking for.
Yeah.
The key word there, cots. Not comfortable sofa, not a bar, just 4 cots.
So Liverpool.
Those guys were working. They were getting put through the ringer on tour, man. Paul McCartney these days, a buddy of mine promoted a show for him in Memphis 10, 15 years ago.
Okay.
And I went to the gig, and she said, oh, come on down, we'll hook you up.
Yeah.
And then we were talking about what it is to do a gig with Paul McCartney. And she said, the rider is unbelievable, the amount of weird stuff. And I said, she goes, well, there's a flooring that you can buy, like a Pergo, it's not fake wood. It was one of those type of flooring things.
Sure.
And she said, and it had to be in the building, like anywhere he would walk from his vehicle to the dressing room and then to the stage, this flooring had to be placed down.
Part of me thinks that's not Paul McCartney. That's somebody around him.
Well, and there was also candles. A specific type of candle would be lit an hour before he arrived, anywhere he went.
All right.
And then to your point, that's exactly what it was. It dates back. There were so many things going on around him that he had no idea about. He simply one day was like, I love this floor. It feels good on my feet. And the tour manager's like, get that floor anywhere he goes. And then he was like, oh, this candle smells nice, doesn't it? And then it doesn't even occur to him like, oh, everywhere I go, those candles are
just appear.
Just people do stuff. He said he likes it. Get those damn candles. And it just turns into his everywhere he goes. And that guy couldn't give a rat's ass. He not even aware of it. Yeah, it's just that's the sort of thing that happens. So from 4 cots to a specific type of flooring in one career. I think Motorhead, to me, probably my favorite ever. The rider Motorhead had for years. Last thing first, this is what it says at the bottom of the rider. All dressing room catering, especially alcohol requirements, must be provided as listed above. This is, all caps, extremely important to avoid problems on day of show. We don't have time to read all of it. I'll just hit the highlights.
All right.
2 extra large bottles Jack Daniels, 2 extra large bottles Jim Beam, 1 extra large bottle quality vodka.
Oh, wow.
120 cans or bottles non-light beer. In Europe, San Miguel, Amstel, or Kronenberg. In USA, Miller Genuine Draft. In Canada, Molson, Labatt's. 24 cans, strong apple cider.
What? Really?
Okay.
Okay, Lemmy.
And it says, this is an English alcoholic apple drink of beer strength, and it is available in most U.S. states.
It is now, thanks to Motorhead.
And then on top of it, if you think it's just about the booze, no, they needed 24 large bottles of spring water. They needed 72 Coke Classic cans, 6 bottles of lime Gatorade. It just goes on and on and on and on. And by the time you get to the bottom of it, 2 packs Marlboro Red, 2 packs Benson and Hedges. I mean, it just goes, just the amount of just liquids flowing around Motorhead at all times.
I mean, true rock stars.
And then, of course, 6 cans of Red Bull energy drink, because you're going to need something to get you up to that stage after you've spent all that time backstage drinking your weight in hooch. Man, we had a lot. There was a time, I think the most the Black Crowes ever had, we would have, there was a case of Red Stripe and a case of like maybe Heineken or Stella, and then a case of like an IPA. Okay. And then there would be like 2 bottles of wine. And but again, I said we would, there was always people. That wasn't like just for the band. I mean, we had plenty, but there were always people around. And then the 4th record came out, and the 4th album like was dead on arrival, commercially speaking.
Okay.
And the tour reflected that, because we go on the road, and then like every night in the dressing room after every show for years, there's 50 people, and then we're out on the 4th album, and it's like, it's just us? Like, really? Hey, we have friends in this town, don't we? And it's like, oh, they all went to go see that new Tarantino film. No. It's going to be showing tomorrow night, right? But they, it was just one of those things you realize, like, oh, we don't have nearly as many people. And we're like, why do we have all this stuff here? How many rotisserie chickens does one band need? And the answer turned out to be 0 at the end of the day.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we were fine without it. It took a while. This is what happens, but I think Motorhead, that's got to be the best for a 4-man band to have that kind of hooch going.
Every single night, man. Every night
single
on tour.
Yeah. It was funny. You would at the end of the tour, if a tour ended, domestic leg, you go out for like 6 weeks. We would at a time, 6 maybe as much as 8 weeks. And the last few days of the tour, you'd see like the crew bus and the band bus. It's just like there's all the extra stuff, but the crew bus, the bays where you put your luggage, it would just be cases of beer. Oh, and then they're all like buying extra suitcases to bring beer home with them. You can't leave it on the bus. No. You got to bring it home. Yeah. So I mean, nothing went to waste. Is my point.
Well, that's so good to hear.
Yeah, somebody imbibed. It all went down the hooch. Somebody eventually got around to it. It may not have been us. But these are the things you do. You get in there one day and you're like, yeah, I don't need peanut butter and jelly and Wonder Bread every day anymore. We're not using it.
Yeah.
It's wasteful.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, what are you going to do? That's what they have the local food banks for. At least that's what they tell me.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
Is it a fact that you're a Chiefs fan?
It's not a fact. I'm not it's interesting. I'm friends with Travis and Pat Mahomes. I met Pat through Travis, and we kind of became buddies. I met Travis years ago.
Sure.
They were developing a sports show we were going to do together. We never did it. We just kind of stayed friends. And then, I always rooted those guys on because they were great dudes, and watching their career was incredible. Like watching them over the past years have been great. And no, I'm a diehard Bears fan, man. I'm a 100% Chicago fan, but it's fun to support Super Bowl winning Hall of Fame guarantees.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
I get a lot of flack online. I've talked about it a bunch, but people can say whatever they want. No, I support my friend. I said on Le Batard's show, I was like, you go, hey, average person, average sports fan, go get yourself a Hall of Fame Super Bowl winning buddy, and like an actual friend we go to dinner, we hang out, I see them all whenever we're together, we golf in the off season, and you tell me you're not going to support their team. That's crazy. Like, of course you would. Like I took my dad to Monday Night Football, which was incredible. My dad got to see a Monday night game in Kansas City after I performed. It was heaven on earth, man. It was like one of the coolest things, and everyone in the organization is incredible. But that's I get the flack, but I couldn't care less. I don't care what people say anymore. I'm a Bears fan, and I'm hoping the future is going to be great. I think Ben's going to be our future. I believe in Caleb. I really think we have an incredible squad. I'm a big Rome fan, so I'm a Bears fan. I mean, you want to talk Bears, I talk it all day. And
Okay, you know better than me, although I've been watching the league and spent a lot of time in Chicago my whole life, et cetera, et cetera. And I've always said, if the Bears were ever year in and year out contenders and they had an all-pro quarterback, that quarterback would mean more to the city than Michael Jordan did in his heyday.
Ooh,
true or false?
I got to be honest with you. I think false, man.
No, okay.
Well, I only
Super Bowl wins, like multiple Super Bowl wins.
Yeah, you
quarterback.
Show me. Yeah, well, show me that. Show me that.
Yeah.
I mean, look, you're talking to a kid that grew up. I'm born in '83. I grew up in the heyday of Jordan. My youth was literally all Jordan. I mean, I like buying Jordans. The starter jacket empire. Like I literally was embedded in that in my youth. So for me, he was the greatest thing I'd ever seen. And like back then, the world is different now. But going to a game, we would go to a game like maybe once a year. You'd be lucky enough to go to a Bulls game. Now I go to sporting events. I see kids sitting, courtside. You're like, what is going? Where is the world?
Yeah.
But we used to go. We used to go to like 1 or 2 games a year. We'd get some lucky tickets, and it did something to me as a kid. It was the greatest thing I'd ever seen in my entire life. He was Jesus to Chicago. So it would take a quarterback to win us a couple Super Bowls
yeah.
in such magnificent fashion. And also change the culture, not to dig into Jordan, but he literally changed the culture of basketball forever,
That's very true.
Yeah. So
I saw his final regular season game in Atlanta in '98, the back of the 2 3-peats his last season. And they moved that game to the Georgia Dome, a regular season game in Atlanta. And they had to put it in a stadium. And there were still people outside that couldn't get in. And I remember thinking then, well aware of of all that he meant, but thinking this is okay. They're not doing that for anybody else ever.
No, that's Jordan, man. There was something so incredible to watch. I mean, we never were allowed to watch TV during dinner. Like our kitchen and our living room were right next to each other, and we couldn't watch TV. But if the Bulls were on, we were allowed to eat in the front room, and that was okay. Like somehow,
that's awesome.
I don't know why that was okay to my mom, but like that was fine. If the Bulls were playing at night, we could watch. We could watch a local game and eat dinner in there, and my mom wouldn't be like, get to the table. But if it was just regular television, no way. Yeah, you couldn't do that.
That's actually the greatest. I don't know that anybody could tell a story that means more about his impact than we couldn't watch TV unless the Bulls were on. I mean, that's exactly right. That's a personal impact.
Yeah. And by the way, that being said, to answer the question from before, if the Bears were on, we still had to eat at the table because they were going to lose anyway.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
So at some point as a kid living this gilded life as a Bulls fan, it occurred to you, I should probably, I'm kind of funny. Maybe I can make strangers laugh too. Sure. How old the first time you remember thinking along those lines?
Well, I was asked to leave. There's a school downtown that I went to when I was a kid called Moody Bible. Moody Institute is still there. And I was asked to leave because of fighting and disruptions. So I was removed from Moody Bible. I was politely asked to get out.
Yeah.
I think I got removed from a few schools. My mom had a little bit of trouble with me. I was a troublemaker. I was a little punk, and I just was so distracted. So like goofing off and having fun and making jokes and making light of stuff, it was just part of my nature. Even as a little kid, it was just a part of our culture. And my grandfather, who was like the funniest guy to ever live, was a Chicago firefighter, and I think we all got it from him. He always took the piss, as they say, over the pond, and he always kind of like wanted to make light of everything. He loved the upstairs downstairs relationship. He would always crack jokes about the wealthy, and that was his way of coping with how his life. And so he'd always say those nice restaurants, they turn down the lights because they don't want you to see how ugly the food is. He would say stuff like that. It was very reminiscent of Willy Wonka. I bet the gold makes the chocolate taste terrible. It was that kind of mentality. Grandfather. So that was kind of our rhetoric in our family. We always joked around, and we always kind of lightheartedly poked fun at stuff, and it was cultural for us. So as a kid, I grew up with that a lot. We grew up with a lot of teasing and joking around and making fun of each other, and it was so natural in our family that it was just part of my nature. And then, I realized I was a moron who couldn't get a real job. So I was like, I better get good at comedy fast because I'm too stupid to have an actual important job.
Self-awareness, very, very important, very key.
Very, very. Yeah, I learned quickly.
Chicago is a legendary comedy town, and at the same token, I mean, Minneapolis is a great breeding ground. A lot of stand-ups that you probably know and love came out of here. What was your first time in Minneapolis? Do you remember your first time coming up here to perform?
I was just gonna say I was gonna shout out my boy Nicky Swartzen, who's like one of my closest. He literally just texted me like an hour ago. We were teasing each other. I love Minneapolis. I'll say this. I'm answering your question by way of the reason I decided to shoot my special in Minneapolis is because the last few times that I've been there to do shows, it's something different. Something's electric about that city, something about the people, the culture. You get such a mix, by the way, in Minnesota as a whole of different socioeconomic backgrounds and cultures, and the way it's Midwest at its core, but you're going to get different political thoughts and beliefs and viewpoints, and you get a big scale of wealth or lack of. And I think that's what really makes a good city. And what I don't love is performing in places where it feels like all the same person. Do you know what I'm saying without saying it? It's kind of like there's cities where I'm not going to shoot at them, but there's places where I just feel like culturally it's not my favorite. They don't have this breadth and depth of culture of different kinds of people that come together the way that Minneapolis does specifically. So the reason I picked that city for my special is because they're wonderful people. It's an awesome comedy town, and it's the core of the Midwest. And I said, if I'm going to shoot a special, it's going to be when nobody can go outside except for to go to the bar or to go to laugh. So I said, let's do it. End of February when it's miserable, come laugh, have a couple of drinks, and have a blast. And that was kind of the purpose of all of it. And I wanted to be back in the Midwest, to be honest. I was like, I got to shoot in the Midwest. I don't want to be back home in Chicago. And Minneapolis was a no-brainer for me.
Friday and Saturday night, February 21st, 22. It's two shows each night at the Pantages.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. You said you lived in LA for 20 years. I think a lot of people also don't understand when you move to LA, it's not because you don't like where you're from. It's just where you kind of got to go at some point. Yeah. You want to do other things, and you far more than stand up. You also, you've played a lot of parts on a lot of shows. You're an actor and doing other things. And did you see, was that always part of the plan too? Were you a stand-up who at some point said, I could do that too? Or did you have it early on, like, I'd like to do both?
Yeah, like I always wanted to be a stand-up. Stand-up comedy was that was my dream, and that was an embarrassing dream. So I never really told anybody. I told my parents I was going to LA to try to like get into the business. And they were very supportive, albeit not financially. They were like, if you're going to go out there and drown, you got to do it on your own. Like we're not giving you some, so you got to go get a job, figure it out. I didn't have a beautiful safety net of like sitting at home and eating cereal and watching TV and writing jokes. I had to get day jobs for a while. So, I wanted to come out here and do comedy. I would say my hero or my influence was Jim Carrey. I thought he was everything to me as a kid. My friend Sean and I used to sit in my mom's basement and rewind Dumb and Dumber and wear the tape out. Literally, we wore the VHS out. We'd rewind the scenes that we loved. And I love Jim so much. He was my influence. So I wanted to be like Jim. I wanted to be like Robin. I wanted to do stand-up and then take it into the world of comedic acting. If I was so lucky. That was kind of like, I never had like my dream. I never had that. I always just wanted to make a living being a comedian, and my dream came true, and I more than I ever expected. So I never had like deep aspirations as a kid to be an actor. I just wanted to be a comedic entertainer, and I knew that was something that was possible. And then when I tried to get into acting, I found out that I wasn't that bad. I was all right, and they kept giving me stuff, and I kept working. I kept working towards it. So I'm super blessed and grateful of that. But stand up is forever my love. Someone always said, people always say in interviews sometimes on press junkets, they're like, gun to your head, which one do you have? If you got to lose one of the two, I mean, I would lose acting in a heartbeat. Stand up is everything to me.
I'm sure you have this as a musician. The bands I grew up loving and listening to that make you want to do it. When you get involved in it yourself, it's interesting to realize as you get better and learn more, you realize, oh no, they're even better than I knew just as a fan. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
Because like you said, you wear out Jim Carrey performances. I can remember the first time I saw Ace Ventura, and it was hilarious. I mean, I was laughing hysterically over the top, but I didn't think it would carry on through repeated viewings. And every single time you realize, wait a minute, I'm not a comic actor. I'm not a stand-up. I'm trying to imagine just doing that.
Right.
Just the commitment and the level of brilliance at every step. It's just mind-boggling. It's like when I listen to Beatles records now, and I'm still like, oh God, they're even better than I knew before I knew what I was talking about. It's the same kind of thing, I guess.
Yeah, it permeated culture in a way that changed comedy film forever, and honestly, like the way that comedy was happening on a commercial scale back then, I miss, and I wish we're trying to make it come back. I have a couple of buddies and I are trying to make stuff. We're working pretty hard, and it's tough. The business doesn't really love commercial comedy anymore the way it used to, and that's okay. I do think it's going to come back. It's not doomsday for our business. Mm-hmm. Comedy is at its height. I mean, I'm so grateful of what's going on with me, and people are coming to see me in droves, and some of my good friends, Shane Gillis is selling out arenas.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to see like comedy at its height now. I mean, Nate Bargatze is a household name, and like these things are pretty wild to watch comedy be at this peak level for my peers in my group and guys that I know. And I think it's incredible, man. I think it's only going to lead hopefully to culture tagging along and letting commercial comedy get back into the box office. Cause I think that's what people love the most, man.
I'd like to think over the last decade, I think it's coming back around where people are recognizing it's just jokes. It's the point is to laugh at everything. Yeah. And we have become siloed off in society, and we've allowed ourselves to be divided. And like you were talking earlier, there's such a homogenization with thought, depending on not even town to town, but just friend groups and who you hang out with. And I've seen a lot of your clips, and I'm always appreciative of the fact that you're just, if it's funny, it's funny. If it's a joke, it's a joke, for God's sake.
It's a joke. That's part of the problem of there's a loss of context in reality today because of the internet, and it is what it is. But people have to know when someone gets angry about a joke. It's like I've always said this. Bobby Lee and I have a podcast called Bad Friends, and it's probably the most successful thing I've done in my career. And I'm so happy that the fans have come along for this stupid ride with two morons. But we mean none of it. It's all for fun. It's all to let it rip. And on the way to work, to just listen to us goofing on each other and making fun of reality and diving into kind of this fantasy world with us is what's so fun. And that people have to know that, like, when we make opinions or when we're calling stuff, it's all fake. It's all for fun. Like, none of this stuff should be taken serious. And even when I tell a joke about an opinion of a social topic, I might not even believe that. It's just fun. Like, it's like mock debate. We're just doing it for fun.
Yeah.
Just to tingle your brain and make you think about it and laugh. So that's kind of my new viewpoint of my world is like, come see me, have a good time. It's all fake. It's not, this is all for fun, man. It's a joke. I'm not trying to get you to have to take a political stance. Like, it's just a bit, man.
Yeah, I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger was not made from titanium. He didn't come from the future.
No. And for years, I really thought he did. He does kind of sound like he's from somewhere else. But,
that's true.
Outside of that,
John Prine was not a housewife in Montgomery, Alabama. No. He just happened to write a song about one.
That's right.
It's funny how that works.
Well,
Andrew Santino.
Did you see? By the way, sorry. Did you ever see that documentary that they did the Springsteen documentary? It was on HBO or something. And people were upset to find out that like all these songs that Springsteen wrote weren't about his life. He's like, no, I was writing characters. And people were like, that's not you. You didn't work in a factory when you were 9. He's like, no, dude. Yeah. Like, it was a song. I wrote a song.
Not only did he write a song about that, he invented that whole Jersey Shore being heaven on earth crap too. Like,
correct.
If you saw his Broadway show, he's like, I was from a hellhole. I had to make it sound good. Who wants to hear? It's like, it's called art. You're presenting you're trying to make people think, trying to make them feel. Doesn't mean it's you necessarily. So
correct. Correct.
Glad we could figure out how art works.
Yeah, we just figured out art for those that don't know. Yeah.
That's fantastic, man. It's great to chat with you. I'm going to try to get out one of those nights, and if I do, I'll definitely come say hey.
I would love to have you come backstage. We'll set that all up. I'd love to say hi.
All
to
right.
you.
Right on, man. All the best.
Appreciate you.
Get the KQ Morning Show podcast wherever you listen. 92 KQRS.